Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Superannuated Starman. This is episode 1. I'm your host, Sean Ryan, and back with me is Chris Duerksen. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, and I'm doing even better now that we have a special guest this week, Sabrina. Sabrina, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited.
Well, we are excited too, and we're ready to talk about some Donkey Kong Country. But before I get started, I want to extend a very special thanks to my friend Shanice Rivera for the suggestion of the podcast name. Chana, thank you very, very much. It's an excellent name. And we're going to talk a little history about Donkey Kong before we go into our discussions. It was developed by Rare that brought us great games like GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie and was published by Nintendo. Donkey Kong's creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, wasn't directly involved in this game as he was busy being the producer for Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. He did contribute game design and concepts and ideas, though. This game was released on the 21st of November 1994 in North America, and it went on to sell over 500,000 cartridges in its first week and eventually sold over 9 million units worldwide. And if you guys don't mind, I'd like to start off kind of recapping my childhood memories.
Go for it.
So, as we discussed in the last podcast, I didn't get a Super Nintendo until Christmas of 1994. So this game was already out, but I did know about it through Nintendo Power. Did either of you ever subscribe to Nintendo Power?
No, I never subscribed, but I used to read every issue that came across my way, or like get any issues I could in the grocery stores, anything like that, just like little random issues here and there, and probably read each issue 90 times.
Yeah, absolutely. So at that time, if you were a subscriber through Nintendo Power, you were sent a VHS. It was called Donkey Kong Country Exposed. And it was basically a 20-minute long commercial, kind of like The Wizard was for Super Mario Bros. 3. But it was incredibly 90s oriented. There was a lot of neon going on. The host was wearing jeans, a white t-shirt with a black vest over it with a backwards baseball cap with the long hair. Yeah.
Like New Kids on the Block style.
It was bad. It was bad. The whole purpose of the video, it was kind of like a commercial, like I said, but it was also a making of video where they had members of the development staff, and they were able to show off some gameplay as well as some game testers that showed off secret areas of the game. For me, I wore that tape out because I was so enamored with the look of Donkey Kong Country. How it wasn't like a drawing, kind of like how I associated the Super Mario Brothers games, with the sprite based. To me, it was more like a computer graphics. It was the new technology and everything. And these models, the models that they actually created these games with was made on a system called the Challenge, and that was the same system they used for Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park. When I heard that, my little boy brain was just going crazy because it was like, oh man, it's gonna be like a movie. It's I don't even know what to say. It's not even like a video game anymore.
Was that the same the Challenge? Was that the same system that they used for Killer Instinct too?
That I don't know. I didn't look any of that up. If I was good host, I would have looked and see what more games use this technology.
Because I know Rare also did Killer Instinct as well. And
yeah. Oh, those are my cats.
Nice.
Yeah, they got the zoomies right now.
and think about it, there's actually a Killer Instinct Easter egg in Donkey Kong Country.
There is. And let's save it.
Yeah. It's nothing special, but I now that like you were mentioning those games, I just remember that 3D style. I think it might have been. It looked kind of similar to how Killer Instinct did too, and it's the same company, so yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But sorry to derail you.
No, and we should talk about that game later. Maybe not a full episode. Maybe if we did two games, because I love Killer Instinct.
Oh yeah, I was obsessed with that game too.
Okay, so playing the game as a kid, even back then, I really liked the fact that I was searching for a bunch of bananas instead of the princess, and so going through the game, I actually preferred it because every time I beat a boss, I got part of my horde back instead of that your princess is in another castle. Which, even as a kid, that was irritating. But when I was younger, I found the game to be very, very difficult. So finding those bonus rooms was rewarding and beneficial because I needed those one-ups. Because you had levels, especially like the underwater or the minecart levels, I found to be exceptionally difficult. And I had to play them repetitively to get any sort of muscle memory to beat the levels. Exploring felt great, even though it's all linear. There were so many different areas that we had. We had snow, we had jungle, we had a temple. There was caves and forests and even industrial levels. So everything was varied and everything looked just amazing, especially those crystal mines.
Oh my God, those are crazy.
Yeah, they're beautiful, and even
Yes.
though they haven't aged as well in 1994, I mean they were just unbelievably beautiful. So I preferred to play as Diddy when I was younger.
Gotta
Um,
go fast.
yeah, he Donkey Kong obviously has benefits over Diddy Kong that he can beat some of the enemies that Diddy can't. But Diddy has so much speed and he has better air control. I just,
Yeah.
yeah, I just really preferred to play with that character. Yeah,
Just kind of like want to plow through the level. You just kind of like running as Diddy. But like, when you want to, with Donkey Kong, like he was not easy to like blow through things because, like you said, like you can defeat things more. But like I liked doing as Diddy. I realized when I quickly started to replay it again, going back and going as Diddy, I'm just like whoop 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 whoop, going through everything really quick.
I did
yeah,
everything as Diddy on my last playthrough.
Yeah, I've noticed like my levels were mostly all Diddy, unless like he didn't make it at the end. But Donkey was my backup.
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I was obsessed with making all the levels look the same. So I would play through the level as Diddy and then switch to Donkey Kong at the very end to beat the level, just so that
Nice.
his face would show up.
He can only go through the exit.
hmm Yeah, and if I was gonna end up beating with Diddy, I would just kill myself and restart the level.
Jeez.
Oh man.
That's some
Yeah,
dedication for Donkey Kong right there.
yeah, I was definitely a little obsessive to make sure everything was the same.
That's fair.
Fanboy.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to talk about when I was playing it as a kid, mostly because I don't remember. And in 1994, I had just got my Super Nintendo, so I was playing everything at that time: Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda,
Oh, yes.
Pilot Wings. This game, although it's super important to me, it kind of got lost amongst all those other games. So, Chris, do you want to start talking about your childhood memories?
Sure. So yeah, I also did not own the game either, but my neighbor did, and I used to go over there all the time. Nick, hello. But yeah, we used to play Donkey Kong Country all the time. I just remember as a kid, yeah, like you said, the 3D graphics, the whatever that engine or whatever it was just. I remember as like the little kid thinking like the future is now. Like I just thought like the graphics were cutting edge, like, and just completely blown away by the graphics and how it just didn't look anything like Mario or anything like it was. I honestly believed, and for the longest time, it's probably one of the best looking Super Nintendo games that they put out visually. Like and like I said, and then in hindsight, looking back on it, like it kind of it did kind of look like Killer Instinct, and which I didn't realize at the time that's the same company. But yeah, the graphics were amazing. Um, I always, as a kid, I always compared it to Mario, even visually, like the 3D versus the flatness of Mario. But I always compared it to Mario, but like instead of collecting coins or collecting bananas, and instead of getting power up, you get Diddy or Donkey, whatever is the your preferred you know what I mean? Like instead of a power up, you get a buddy.
Yeah.
And then, and then when you get hit, instead of shrinking, you go down to 1. And as a kid, I never really paid much attention to the amount of nuance, like the differences between the two. Like, Donkey Kong was still one of the earlier Super Nintendo games that I used to play a lot. And which meant, I was a dumb kid and I didn't pay attention to the little details. But one thing I do remember, and this still holds true to this day, is that the minecart levels were the best.
Yes.
Like, I never beat this game as a kid. I played over like my buddy's Nick, and then we would rent it up at my dad's fairly often because it's just such a replayable game. But I remember there were times where we would rent it for the weekend, and didn't even try to beat the whole thing. We just tried to get to the minecart level, and then just play the minecart level over and over and over.
But they were so hard as a kid.
Yes, it was.
But it was so much fun. It was like a little roller coaster, like
pretty much.
And plus, since the graphics were like 3D, like that's the most realistic looking video game. Yeah, the graphics for the minecart, it was just so much fun and so different compared to anything else that was out there. It did actually remind me of Battletoads on the little jet, because it took so much muscle memory, and then it gets to the point where it gets pretty fast. It reminded me of Battletoads and playing Battletoads, which also is a Rare company, a Rare game. So there's that connection there that I never put together until I was older. But besides the minecart levels, even as a little kid, I always kind of, like I said, comparing it to Mario, I always felt like Mario's controls were so tight and so precise, and you could stop on a dime and you could jump exactly on that one block. And as a kid playing Donkey Kong, like I remember the controls always felt like a lot driftier.
Yeah.
And and you're kind of it felt just driftier, slidier. I don't know how to
slippier. Is that the word?
Slippier, more slippy. I don't know, but it just felt a lot more chaotic than Mario did as a kid. And to be completely honest, I compared every game to Mario when I was a kid. Like every kind of platformer in my head, like I compared all of them to Mario. Like I thought every platformer was like a Mario wannabe. So.
Well, I mean, that's not too far away. I mean, because they did kind of set the industry standard of what's expected out of a good platforming game.
Like a good
I think probably at least with all three of us, I'm sure Mario was our intro to platformer games.
Yep.
And when you're 10 years old, you didn't know that a game was called a platformer. You knew it was it's kind of like Mario, but you're a monkey instead.
It was a Mario game.
Yeah, it's But I do remember just how beautiful the game was, how smooth the game was, but it was kind of slick and kind of chaotic, and it was kind of, and the whole jungle theme was totally different than anything Mario. I was really impressed with the game as a kid.
It's crazy. And unlike your jump back into when Mario can stop on point, he can stick it for his landing, if that means. Right. And then when you go to back to Donkey Kong Country, there's a little gallop. When you stop, they kind of boop boop, a little coming to a stop type thing, and that can really mess you up on something when you don't need to be doing that. You have to keep jumping to get to that stop point, unlike Mario where he's boop, done. And I think that's is that what you meant? They don't just stop, they kind of whoop slow down.
Yeah. You definitely have to, there's drift that you have to account for.
Yeah.
When you're trying to come to a stop or to land in a particular spot, or
And that did not come in handy when there's levels that are constantly moving, platforms going back and forth, and you're trying to jump, but you're about to fall off, so you keep jumping to not do that.
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot of that, and then sometimes you over jump and then you fall off anyway.
One thing I liked about it is kind of that inertia where you're trying to build up speed, so you push left or right on the gamepad, but then you also, or at least I would roll or do a cartwheel to get that pickup of speed.
Yeah.
You know, because we're talking about going fast through these levels.
Yep.
So of course I'm with Diddy and you know, do a cartwheel and then just start running. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to mention that until we talked about like what's playing as today. But yeah, that was one thing I never noticed as a kid was, yeah, it's not like Mario, where yeah, like Mario, you can hold down the run button and it still takes a couple steps before you're going full speed. But yeah, in this game, you literally, it's like it's starting from a stop. It's to get up to full speed. It you have to build it up. Like it, you know, like it just feels kind of like I don't know, like kind of like how it does realistically, like where you know
Gotta build that momentum.
You aren't gonna just break into a dead sprint. You know, like
you gotta work for
but
it.
Yeah, exactly. Got to work for it. But yeah, but that was my childhood experience, and you know, I'd like to pass the mic to Sabrina if you want to talk about yours.
So I too did not own the game, nor did I own the system. I had a couple of friends who had this system. Um, and I would go over to their house a lot, and then they'll be like, "Hey, you want to like go outside and play?" I'm like, "No, how about that Nintendo?" I was never and still not an outdoorsy person. My perfect like summer day was to be inside, windows open, and on a gaming system. That was my good day. That's me enjoying the outdoors from inside. But like I had a friends who would like had some of these games because I like I said I never owned one. And again, like, yes, it was a lot of comparison, like you said, to like Mario, because that was like, I think most people's like first, introduction to it. But getting that like 3D into this game was just mind blowing. Like, it was such a game changer to know like, oh, being Mario, jump side to side thing, but then like you get to be a monkey in 3D. Like it was so cool. And not to mention like not one monkey, but just not monkey apes. Like, oh no, monkey's a monkey, donkey's an ape. But just to be them like in 3D, it was so crazy. Seeing like all that, like the graphics, like it was insane. Like hands down, probably like quickly one of my top favorite like games that I got into. But yeah, no, like anytime I go to a friend's house, be like, hey, you got that Nintendo game? but but yeah, so that like I said, that's pretty much kind of remember from my childhood for like those games is like I didn't own it, but I knew people who did. So I played it a lot over there, and I too did not finish the game, which I quickly realized back when I was replaying as like a reminder, refresher. I totally did not finish this game because like I thought I did, but nope, definitely didn't. And I remember some of these levels, but going through them and getting further, like yeah, I didn't. But like I don't know. I'm about to mostly just talk about levels at this point. That kind of ended my childhood thing, just, hopping from people's houses that I knew had this system that I would play this game.
Who's you guys' favorite companion of the four animals?
Oh man, as a kid, it was the rhino all the way.
Rambi.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had names.
Yeah, you have On Guard the swordfish, Rambi the rhino, Espresso the ostrich, Winky the
awesome.
frog, and
He
then
good.
the fifth one, Squawks the parrot, but he's only in one level.
Wait, is that the spotlight bird?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know you can get him for the one level. Yeah, that level was crazy, by the way, with the spotlight holder. My favorite, honestly, that rhino. It's pretty good, but I like the ostrich because I like to plow through levels mostly and jump and flutter over the levels with the ostrich. But he came in handy in the water levels. The frog was fun, but probably the ostrich is probably my favorite.
I got to go with Winky the frog. He
good.
He was definitely my favorite just because of the verticality that he had in those levels.
Yeah, you can reach a lot of places. And I like when he's like slow. He's like boing, boing, boing. But then you hit that button. He's like whoop.
Another question I have for you guys. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, I was just gonna. I just love the Rhino because the fact that you just plow through everything.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you just felt
that's a
like you're
good
in a
feeling.
bulldozer, just going through the
Pretty
level
much.
and just nothing stopping you.
He
And
jumped
like
way higher than you think a Rhino could, though.
you're right. I know. The first, like, just discovering that he can jump, I was like,
Yeah.
that doesn't feel right. but
He's wrong.
but I remember even as a little kid just being so disappointed when you're like plowing through a level on the Rhino and you find a secret and you go into the secret door instead of just keep moving on the level.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, I found a secret, but oh, not the Rhino.
Yep. Pretty much.
My next question for both of you: did you guys ever know about the barrel code?
The barrel
Silence.
code?
Barrel code. Okay, so on the select menu, when you select your save file, there we go. So on the select menu, you go to the very bottom and you press BARRAL, and whatever game you select, you get 50 additional lives.
Oh no, never knew about that.
And you didn't tell me this before I started the game. That's
Yeah,
awesome. I didn't know about that.
I had no idea about it until my girlfriend told me about it, and it blew me away.
What? That's awesome.
You know, that's one thing I miss about the new games today is that back in Super Nintendo and Nintendo days, every game had a code to do something. You know, like obviously the famous, Konami code, but like every game had something.
Some secret to it.
Yeah.
It was a fun like addition to the game. Like it was really enjoyable to have that in those games. But yeah, I've noticed like they don't really have that anymore for all the new stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's kind of turned into DLC at this point.
Ugh, yeah. Everything is DLC.
All right. So was there anything else that you had, Sabrina or Chris? Did you guys want to comment any more about your childhood memories?
Childhood? No. I got nothing.
No? All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll take a break. And when we come back, we will discuss what it's like revisiting Donkey Kong Country today.
Oh.
What it was like to play Donkey Kong Country in our childhood. But now we're going to go ahead and talk about revisiting it today and what it's like to play Donkey Kong Country in 2021. So for me, I played this on a SNES Classic, and I really wish I could have replayed it again on a Super Nintendo, but unfortunately all my stuff's in storage. But I wanted that real feel, so I chose the SNES Classic because then I got a controller that I can, sit down and play and kind of feel like I did when I was a kid. One of the things I wanted to discuss was the music. We didn't really mention that earlier. We talked about how the graphics were, and I guess as kids, maybe it was that, something neat to look at. But as an adult, I was really focusing on the music portion of it. And David Wise, he was the composer for this game, and he went on to do most of the Donkey Kong Country series. And I think it's phenomenal. What about you guys?
That's actually one thing that I noticed, because I mean, like the soundtrack for this game is, from what I can tell, pretty well known for being so amazing. And one thing I noticed when I was replaying it, I actually stopped to check to see if there was like a sound option to turn the music up, because it's actually kind of
faint.
I don't know. Yeah. It's
muted.
The music is definitely way more in the background than it is in Mario games and stuff, where the Mario game, like a lot of times I'll be like bobbing my head along with the music, whereas this, the music is very much, it's more
it's in the background.
Ambience. Yeah. It's
I think ambient's a good word for that.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not the soundtrack to to you jumping around. Like it's definitely, but But it is a great soundtrack, though.
Yes.
It's one of those soundtracks that I can go back into and just listen to it without playing the game and still enjoy it.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't, if I may butt in, sorry.
Yeah.
Jumping to like the last level, I don't know if you noticed, but like when it starts up the song, it's pretty freaking interesting. But then I don't know if you noted, like just recently, like having done it, it jumps from like its own like theme music for the beginning of like the battle, and then it kind of fades off, and then it like regroups into like the actual Donkey Kong song. Like I don't know if you guys noticed that. That was so cool. Like I was really into the not paying attention. I think it's awesome.
Sabrina, you're starting to cut out a little bit.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if that was me or.
No, we're having some difficulties here. We're still having problems here.
Yeah. Still have connection issues.
Let me drop out real quick.
Oh wait, you sounded perfect there.
Yep.
Oh, I'm probably having like a internet
spike.
flux.
Yeah. Oh well, we got you back, and
Sorry.
it's only a minute or two. Oh, no worries. So, where did we stop at? You were talking about the song, where at the very end when you're fighting King K. Rool.
Yeah, how it changed the Donkey Kong. It was more like I was jumping back to where when you change zones throughout leveling, like how the songs kind of go with it. That was really neat too. The songs are really great in the game, but I kind of wish they were more immersed into it, like how Chris said that like it's in the background more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had to say about it.
Well, we're playing it. The music was great, which is kind of upsetting because I feel that the levels were short. But the platforming is at least fun and interesting, especially if you have Diddy Kong, because of his air control and his maneuverability. I liked levels like Tanked Up Trouble. If you don't remember which one that is.
Oh, I have notes on that.
You do? Yeah. So it's everything. It's on a on rails platform, and you have to jump up and hit the fuel canisters to kind of charge up your platform and keep it moving along.
Yeah, I was going to mention that one. I actually had that one in my notes too because it's only one level in the game, and it's so unique. And it's first, I mean, it's not like any other. It's not like a Mario. Sorry, I'm going to compare this game to Mario a lot.
No worries.
But yeah, it's not like any Mario games where you have to do that. But just also the fact that how many levels are in this game, and they only did that in the one level.
Yeah.
Like to me, that makes it special. It's totally special.
It's definitely like more memorable than some of the other levels, just because of that crazy instance of don't run out of fuel or you die.
Yeah, and you can't. And it's easy to if you miss one jump.
So easy.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to realize like the cans of barrels had certain amount of fuel. So you have one that's like a full, 4 or 5, and there's some that's like 2 or 1, and you're like realizing this as you're like going through the platforms, like freaking out, trying to find the cans and then the enemies in the way, and you realize like I only got 2 off of that. It was
and it makes that little clicking noise when it's about to fall.
Yes.
It kind of ramps up the anxiety.
Yep.
Yeah, no, yeah, they make you squirm in that level.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, you're talking about the kind of one-shot level when we talk about Tanked Up Trouble. There was another level that I really liked called Stop and Go Station.
Oh my god.
Where you saw the rock crocs, and they were only there for one level. And the Stop and Go is it's a very dark level in a cave, and you have to jump up and hit barrels that say stop to turn the crocs back into little stone creatures.
It felt like playing freeze tag or what was that game? That kid game?
Red light, green light.
Yes, red light, green light. Totally felt like red light, green light.
And I think that's the point of the level. Actually, was that it's supposed to feel that way. And the Kremlings there were just so interesting, but you only saw them that one time in that one level, and that was it. Mm-hmm. You know, there were other mine levels. I mean, even if you just saw them briefly, I thought it would have been kind of neat to have them there.
Yeah, that level got crazy, especially towards the end. There were so many, like right towards the end, I believe. I died so many times because of the time. I mean, I would have both Diddy and Donkey, and then like I would always use Diddy because I'm like, I gotta go fast. And then he'd be like the first one to go, and then you got Donkey, who's a bit more klutzy and a bigger target and stuff. And I cannot, like, some of the barrels are so high, I wasn't sure how you reached it, so I was just trying to like wing it and just try to jump through them. But yeah, no, it was a crazy level at the end right there. Like I died numerous of times because there was like 5 in a row that you had to like, and they kept running past each other. So you have like that one split second to jump in between them as Donkey Kong and try to make it to the other side.
Yeah, and to build off that, do you mind if I jump in and kind of
go for
meld
it.
our adult perspectives together? I don't remember this game being that hard as a kid. I remember like playing it as a kid and getting as far as we could go, but I never remember being that frustrated. Playing through it as an adult, there's so many levels like that where it's like, what? Like, it's just so much harder than I remember it being.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I felt that as a kid, this game was painfully difficult, but as an adult, I breezed through it.
Oh wow! See, now you're just making me feel bad.
We're just older and slower now.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah, no.
We'll go for it.
Oh no, I was just kind of like, no, as a kid, like, yeah, I just looking back on it, playing at friends, and we just kind of played it. And granted, we did play the minecart, minecart level over and over and over. And like I said, we never tried to really push to get to the end of the game. But even the beginning levels, they all definitely are a much bigger skill check than Mario games.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Super Nintendo Mario games, old school Mario, those were.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, go back to what I was talking about with the game. The graphics as a kid were amazing. I think they still look good, but they definitely are showing their age. They're a little dated now. But I feel that there was a lot of interesting things that they did for the visuals. In one of the levels, Orangutan Gang, they do this dusk or daylight to dusk transition, and it looked phenomenal. And it was nothing that I'd ever seen like that in a game. Or in another level, Snow Barrel Blast, that has very, very heavy snow that obscures all the visuals.
Yeah, it almost turns into like a whiteout. Yeah.
The blizzard.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I actually put that in my notes for both the Orangutan Gang. That was like, oh, the sunset's pretty in the background, because like you don't see that in the other levels where it's like progressing through it, and then yeah, again the snow area. I'm like, oh, there's snow, and then like you get a little bit further, and it's like, oh, there's a lot of snow.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm not eating your lunch talking about all these levels here.
No, I took so many notes on these levels because I love them all. Most of them, not the water ones; those were terrible.
Yeah, I like that there's no HUD, no timer, no health bar. Like you guys were talking about earlier, it's that kind of one-hit KO with the partner swap mechanic. So you have to find those barrels that have either Diddy or Donkey in them. That's like your safety net to get through the levels. Unless you have a companion, the companion is kind of like your Yoshi of the level. It provides that one extra hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and easily gives you a huge advantage to pretty much any situation that you're in.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the companion is almost required to find those bonus rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking off air, and one of the things that kept coming up was the percentage when you save your game. And initially I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm only 40% through this game, and I've been playing for, over an hour. But it's that that percentage is actually tracking the levels complete and the bonus rooms that you do. So going through and getting all 100% is something I never achieved as a child, and I did not even try as an adult.
Yeah.
Nope.
And that's one thing I didn't know until you told me. Yeah, when we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, you were the one that told me that, and I had no idea. when you first asked me, like, how far along through, I'm like, well, an hour and a half and 36%, and you're like, oh, that's the bonus rooms. I was like, oh, well, then I have no idea how far I am.
Yeah, the saving thing was kind of terrifying. First off, Candy Kong. Holy crap. I didn't realize like there was even like a female girl monkey in there until I saw Candy. But the saving thing, I didn't realize that like there's only sections of save points in this game, and that was kind of terrifying. Like I went back and played this like on the Switch like a cheater, but like to know that you had to like reach her point to kind of like save, was a little daunting because I was like, oh man, I have a while before I can even reach Candy over there to actually save everything I've done.
Yeah, Candy Kong obviously had a use. Funky Kong I thought was completely useless.
Yes, I only watched him once because I think you had to, and then you're like, I'm not going back to this.
Yeah, I had.
What was Funky Kong? Was that the airplane guy?
Yes, the one wearing the glasses, bandana.
Yeah, the surfer monkey.
Cowabunga.
So I have no desire to go back and replay those levels because there's no reward for it.
No, yeah, and there's no. It's not like in Super Mario World, where there's like the secret area where you can stock up on whatever you need. Like there was just, like except for the minecart level.
Yeah.
But even as a kid, you pretty much hit that level and then you just play it 50 times in a row there, and then you move on.
Yep.
So it was bound to come up sooner or later. The water levels.
Terrible.
The music, phenomenal.
Yes.
I know that's my favorite music out of everything.
But the gameplay is just terrible unless you get on guard.
Mm-hmm.
And he is essential to make those levels any type of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poke him with your nose, and it goes like boink on the noise.
But can I point out one thing I hate about the level design of those things is that in most platformers, like when you want to like plow through, or not even plow through, but just kind of like parkour through a level or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In these water levels, you can't do that because there's stupid jellyfish that come out of nowhere. That like it's not even that I'm talking like the sharks or the fish, but like things
squids.
That just like the squids that just come through,
octopus
that come through the level, like through the walls, and they're so hard to see. Like I couldn't imagine, that this was playing on a full size TV. Like when I was a kid, we had like a 10-inch TV playing this. Like I don't like, how did I get through this stuff as a kid?
I think the squids were like super, super annoying because like how they do like that saw attack at you and they just chase you and you're like trying to swim away as like Diddy like paddling as fast as you can. It was insane.
I wish I had some fireballs in that level.
For real, like pew pew pew. But like on top of that, like I always kept thinking like, man, these guys can hold their breath for a very long time.
I never thought of that.
That was my thing. My first thought, I was like, I see the little bubbles. I'm like, do I need to get like air bubble? It's been a while. Like, do I need air like bubble things? How I think of like Mario has that or something. And then I realized like, nope, they just hold it all the entire way through.
I never thought of that.
There was another water level in there, the pond. It was I don't know if you guys remember
the polluted pond.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was just about to mention the toxic water level where everything's green. Like, yeah.
And you also realize how big that was for a pond? Like for all the enemies that were, I have notes on it somewhere, but like all the enemies that were in there, and it's supposed to be a pond. I'm like, this is a crazy pond. You have those tire upgrades with the spikes on it that are like trying to like poke you and everything. It was a crazy level for that one.
My last point here that I want to discuss before I hand it off to Chris was the bosses. Sorry, that's my cat. They provide no challenge whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Death animations were funny. Most of them look like they like hacking up a hairball at the end there when you finally like defeat them. They're like, huh, huh.
So, Chris, what are your thoughts and how did you like replaying Donkey Kong Country today?
So, like I said earlier, I didn't remember it being as hard as it was as replaying as an adult. But yeah, like I was going to mention that too, except for the bosses. The bosses are so, compared to the rest of the game, when you finally make it through one of those hard levels and you hit the boss stage, you're like, oh, yay, a free win. Like, and the boss fights are so short and they're all relatively similar, like they just all feel the same. They're all, surrounded by the bananas, and boss fights were all easy. And as much of a challenge the whole game was, the boss fights were just unproportionately way too easy. But moving on, as the like I mentioned, how like as a kid I thought the controls were sloppy, but as an adult, like replaying it recently, you can really work that to your advantage, and all the little nuances, like the control differences between being Donkey Kong and being Diddy Kong, I thought were for a Super Nintendo game, and like when that game came out and compared to other games at the time, like you guys gotta admit, like the fact that they made those two individual characters completely individual from each other was great.
Yeah.
And it's not like Mario, where like when you're playing 2-player with Mario and Luigi, and they're the exact same. Not counting Mario 2, but like all the other Mario games, yeah, where the Marios are just the same. They did a really good job of giving Donkey his own identity and giving Diddy his own identity, and not just identities, but like their own kits. The fact that Donkey Kong,
feel the
smash. Yeah, you can feel the difference. You use them differently in different situations. I had to text Sean when I was playing through in my recent playthrough, because like you come across all those Kong layers through different stages, and there's so many of them that are like dangling off a cliff. I'm like, how do you get to like? There's got to be some trick to do that.
Oh,
Sean's
yeah.
like, you got to roll as dating and then jump in midair. I was like, I never put that together before. But the fact that you can only do that with dating, you can't do it with Donkey, definitely makes them special to each other. Also, the other things I was going to mention that I really appreciate from a more recent perspective was, just the variety of the levels. It really kind of takes you through a whole range of levels and what you're having to do as far as the mine carts, and then the fuel canister level. Like they did a really good job just kind of keeping the whole game fresh. And I did notice the levels were definitely shorter than what you wanted them to be, but at the same time it made for a nice quick playthrough. Oh, and one last thing. One thing I never realized as a kid, that Cranky Kong, which, Sean, you probably knew this because you actually had the game, and apparently this was in the instruction manual. I had no idea Cranky Kong was the OG Donkey Kong.
Yeah, so that's Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Jr., which was one of the Nintendo games, the original Nintendo games, is this Donkey Kong's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's cool.
And now that I know that, like the whole intro scene where like Cranky Kong's chilling with his old timey radio on top of the old timey Donkey Kong. What is that? Like I don't know, that structure that I can't.
The red.
Like the scaffolding beams, or whatever. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that totally.
Girder? Is that the word?
Yeah, I was thinking, is that a garter? I don't know. No, it's definitely not a garter. That's women's clothes, isn't it? Cut that out. You gotta cut this out, right?
No, keep it in.
Just having an awkward cut. So that way nobody has to hear me sound like an idiot for 30 seconds.
It's all right.
Anyways, but so those were my takeaways. It was definitely still 10 out of 10. Highly recommend for anybody who hasn't played it. Still holds up. The graphics don't. They're a little, definitely a little dated. It definitely feels like a 90s game, but
a good 90s.
But that did. When you were talking about the graphics not holding up, would you think this game would hold up, like if they remastered it like they do with so many other games for just an easy cash grab? If they remastered this and just made it clean and pretty, cartoony and pretty and bubbly and everything, would it still have the same feel to it?
I don't know. They went ahead and they made Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze, and that game is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know if I would want them to remake this game, just because I've already played it. I enjoyed it, but I want them to kind of expand and do more. Did that answer your question, or?
Yeah, no. That's I'll definitely have to check out the Tropical Freeze. I never heard of that one.
Oh, it's worth it.
Oh, I have that one. You can borrow it.
What's this one? Is that on?
Switch.
Oh, cool, man. Well,
so, Chris, do you have anything else you wanted to comment on?
No, I covered it.
All right, Sabrina, will you finish this off?
With what?
With your thoughts on replaying Donkey Kong Country as an adult.
Oh, it was really fun to go through this again. Like, there's a lot of stuff I forgot, and then I don't know if I mentioned, but like I never got to finish the game as a kid. So going back on this to replay it through, like the levels I have done, and then where I realized I didn't play, it was pretty crazy. I think one of my still kind of favorites, just kind of like art wise, I think was Treetop Town. The background in that, if you ever guys get a chance to look, Treetop Town, like there's just a background going on there where you just see like a bunch of like big trees and like there's like houses like attached to them. It was really cool. And then kind of like how Chris mentioned, like the going through like the bosses and stuff was pretty easy. The only weird one that threw me off was Boss Dum Drum. It's just a giant barrel that just like whips out random enemies. I'm expecting like the beaver or like the bird or and no, it's just a giant drum. And then he just kind of like keeps trying to smush you, or he'll like shake and then cough out like an enemy and then just kind of like rolls at you or something. That threw me off. It was cool, but like it definitely threw me off. I didn't expect that as like a boss.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the better bosses, considering that for the most part you'd like hit the gopher on his head or the vulture.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like him. I felt that he was a little more varied.
Yeah, it's like the only like actual like you're gonna remember him of like all the bosses just because you're like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
But it was great to play through this again, and like if you haven't done it, it's absolutely worth at least trying out once. Like it was 100% worth it. It was a really great playthrough, and like how Chris mentioned, those cart levels are just amazing. Like and don't get me wrong, it can be daunting sometimes, but like in the best way, because if you don't make that jump right, or you did it too soon, or too much after, like you're dead. But it was so fun to go through those, and those levels got crazy. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun going through this again, and like I was really happy to do so. My bajillion notes and pictures that I drew.
Well, talk about that. Like, why did you go ahead and draw pictures of the levels?
Oh, I forget really easily, and even if I like go through my notes and be like, such as, what is this one? Winky's Walkway. Like if something that was like way like out of proportion, like, oh, I didn't expect this. Like I put a note as like music A++. Like the music was really cool, and I kind of caught it off like off first when I first saw the level, and then just kind of looked through and realized, oh, there's vultures in these mines. There's the frog mountain here you had to find. Um, let's see. I don't know. I drew pictures just to kind of help me remember exactly what that level was about. Otherwise, I could be like take notes and be like, yeah, I remember, this and happened. But when I draw something, I'm like, oh, I remember exactly why about this level, such as like tree chop. I drew like the background of it. I drew like the background going on with the trees, and then I drew like what your player's sitting on, which is like the tree you come out of to go running across like the rope bridge. And then I also I drew a bunch of barrels that like you're gonna be barrel hopping a lot. It was just crazy cool, like certain marks of that level that like I wanted to remember that precisely if we were to go back on top of this. I drew another one for Forest Frenzy. There was such a thick forest background going on there. It was gorgeous. And yeah, a lot of like self reminders to go through just because it was so cool. And like I actually just might keep this book and be like, hey, this is, going back through this game again, like certain points, like, trying to sit on a rope with a bunch of wasps around you and you're trying to like dodge them and, not get poked and stuff. Just a lot of crazy stuff. I don't know. When I draw, I remember things much more vividly and fresher than I do just writing it down.
And I gotta admit, the picture that you showed us, like with the barrels, as soon as you showed it, I was like, I know exactly where that is.
See? Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I would pause the game and then sketch it out of that point because like it was that point that was like, oh, this is crazy. Such as the bird with the torchlight. I drew a quick little scene of like the bird and just a really dark background, and the only point you can see was just where the light was shining, and also the spiky tires because I realized those got an upgrade. But I don't know. It was crazy. It's like those points I really wanted to remember that were like, oh wow, this is way different from the last level. And I think that's what helped get like through the game. It wasn't like the same old. It was like something would change and you're like, whoa, what is this type thing? And it was refreshing like as you went through like the entire game.
Yeah.
What about getting the gold medallions for each of the companions and then going to their little bonus levels?
I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I couldn't remember it. And I'm like, man, these are giant, like, little statues of them. And then I realized I collect 3 and it threw you in a level. And then I instantly remember, like, this is the ostrich level. I thought it was just like a level of its own. I didn't realize it was part of the collect the medallion thing. And you got to collect the little, like, tiny medallions. Oh, it was so fun. I love the ostrich. So just like running, jumping, fluttering, and you hear like the little sounds and you collect them all. That was a good feeling. I remember that specifically as like in my jumping back to childhood. Like that was like one of my favorite parts of the game too. For some reason, was just getting that and going through the ostrich and just floating around and collecting all the little medallion ones.
That was Gibson's favorite part.
Oh, so fun.
He was watching me do these playthroughs. And anytime I got to the bonus stage, Gibson was like, "My turn." Like, he loved the ostrich one.
It's so fun, and
there's I think Espresso is the first one that you can get all 3 of.
I think so. Like it was nice because like there was no enemies. It was just run around and collect as much as you possibly can, and it was such like a nice like give me a second to collect my thoughts of all the craziness going on around here, and then just run around as the rhino, jump up and get them with a super jump of a rhino, or the frog, and even the swordfish too. Like you just kind of like keep dashing through it to get all the like bing, 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 bing as you go through it. Oh, it was a good feeling. I liked collecting those when I realized that's what it did.
Yeah, and plus, for as hard as the game was, you needed these bonus
stages.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to whew.
Did you find the ×2 multiplier?
I was gonna say, is that in every one? Because I found that I can't remember which one I found that in, but I assume each companion has their own multiplier. In their. Now, is that the same every time you hit? Like if you do on guards bonus stage multiple times, is that bonus area, is that multiplier in the same spot every time?
The exact same spot.
All right. But yeah, like first time I found the multiplier, I was like, oh.
The best secret.
Yeah, exactly. It's a secret within a secret.
Pretty much. Those are so good. I really miss those. Like just when you get rewarded for like exploring, like I love that. And they really don't do that anymore. But like when you like how Chris just said, a secret within a secret, it's like what? You know, it's so exciting and it's an all around happy feeling before you get stomped on by other monsters after.
And what you just said there about you get rewarded for exploring. I think people of our generation, at least me, when I'm playing games like any game, any open world game, I will explore every nook and cranny of every area because I'm looking for stuff like that. Like I've been programmed since childhood to think
touch everything.
Yeah, exactly. Every wall, like there can be fake walls everywhere, and there can be bonus items hidden under every rock. And I end up
disappointed when there's not.
Yeah, and I end up taking 5 times longer to beat any game as an adult than what it says it should.
I got friends who are like, we'll just blow through it, and I'm still in the way back. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm looking for the secrets. I wanna know everything. Because like when you first play a game, you don't want to rush through it because you're never gonna have that same experience ever again. It's your first time. Go through it all. Don't just bomb through it because the feeling will never be the same on your first run through. And that's what I want to do with games is like I want to go through everything I possibly can because there is no feeling this way again on your first like gameplay.
It's a very good point.
And one thing I always try to do on my first playthroughs, I try to do them as organically as possible. I don't want to look at anything up. I don't want to, follow a walkthrough or watch any YouTube. I don't want any spoilers to know, like, because your first time through, that's
it's your own. It's a memory. It's a good memory, usually.
Yeah. And then the second, if the game's good enough, on the second time through, that's when I look everything up and
Yeah. Get all the extras you might have missed and that you kind of really wanted. And I agree.
Feel like a god on your second playthrough.
Pretty much like, I got this. I know what happens.
But now, in all fairness, like Fallout's a good example. Because of my way, because I come through every little area of a map because of the way that game, like Donkey Kong, like what Donkey Kong did to me as a kid. I come through everything. By the time I finally do get to like the first boss fight or like the first story point checkpoint, I have cleared the entire area, and I'm like 10 times stronger than the bosses by the time I reach it. like RPGs, even Dark Souls. By the time I finally got to the first boss, I'm ready for you.
You
like,
are not prepared.
Yeah.
We'll bring it back to Donkey Kong. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to discuss before we start wrapping this up?
I don't think so. I pretty much got through everything I think I wanted to say about the backgrounds and all that stuff. So yeah, no.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break, get a little bit more music in here, and then when we come back, we will wrap things up and we'll talk about the next podcast. And we're back. So we discussed what it was like to play Donkey Kong as a child, what it was like to replay as an adult, and here we're going to kind of get our final thoughts before we shut this down. So was there anything anybody else wanted to mention?
I forget to talk about it because okay. So as I kind of mentioned in our little free moment there, that when you get towards the end of the game, there is another boss fight called Necky's Revenge, which is the bird that kind of chokes on a hairball or something at the end. But and you go to wait, and then you realize you jump in straight to the last boss. There was like no gap there. I expected like, oh, I just beat a boss. I guess the game's not over. We're going to another world. And no, you just boop on a ship, and then there's King K. Rool right there, ready to wreck your day. But on a side note, the fact that again, like the background was absolutely different than any of the levels because you're on a ship, and in the background you see your own island. Like that's cool. You're in the middle of a boss fight, and in the background is your own island as you are on this ship about to fight King K. Rool, which was a whole thing of its own.
Yeah, speaking of that fight, so I never beat it as a kid, but playing it as an adult, I wasn't expecting the fake ending in the middle of that boss fight. Spoiler for anybody that hasn't beat it, but yes, the boss fight has a fake ending, and I was so happy that I finally got to the end. I even took a picture of my screen, texted it to you, Sean, and I'm like, I did it, and you just replied back instantly, ? And I was like, and then the question mark popped on the screen, and by the time I saw your response, I was already back in the second half of the boss fight, and yeah, it totally wiped out my Diddy Kong because I set the controller down so I could take a picture like I'm a millennial or something.
I definitely died King K. Rool more than any other boss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I lost multiple times. Even as an adult, I can't get down that pattern when he's shooting the cannons out of the sky.
The pattern. See, I found that out. The cannon thing. I was basically just doing my. You run as fast as you can, and just try to luck out. That's pretty much what I do in any game like that.
Yeah.
Where you're not really sure where it's going to land, but if you stand in the same spot, you're going to get hit. So that was my strategy for his fight. But before up to that point, I was even thinking, I'm like, man, this boss fight's just like every other where it's got such a predictable pattern. And then all of a sudden the cannons come out of the sky. But
yeah, that was what threw me off too, was I wasn't expecting it. Because you kind of added the X and Y axis. So you have the crown coming at you from one direction. Mm-hmm. So I thought that's all there was to expect.
Oh, and him jumping around too, and
so having your
jumps underneath him. Yeah, when he finally sped up, that was the. So I take back earlier what I said about boss fights being easy. All the boss fights up until him were easy, and then I was actually really pleased with how long that boss fight was because it actually felt like
a good final boss to go through all the other ones.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I mean the other boss fights were 3 whacks and you're done or whatever. Whereas this one was, I don't know if I didn't time myself on how long it took, but it felt like a 5-minute or 7-minute fight.
Yeah, there was definitely some tension there, especially if you lost a Kong in the middle of the fight.
Because there was. I mean, I don't remember that there were no refreshers for that, were there?
No. If you hit twice, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Quick side thing. Did Cranky just have like a bunch of houses throughout this entire like island? Because I realized like he's in one and every there, and I'm like going through this, and I even put in my notes. I just realized I'm like, how many houses does this guy have? Like, there's one for every level. He just has a bunch of like little huts everywhere. Apparently.
I hadn't thought of that.
I just happened to put in my notes because I put in the like Cranky cabin again ? And then I was like, man, how many this guy has many homes.
I liked his little tips that he gave you, but what I liked even more is how much trash he talked.
Yes.
He's just constantly reminding you how bad you are.
Pretty much. I have a picture of him like, and I was just putting like in parentheses like nag, 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 and then he like bonks you with his cane and stuff. You're like, listen. He was pretty clever in too.
One of the comments he made is about how he's able to beat the game in one life, and so I tried that a lot as a kid, but never got anywhere on it.
That's a master right there.
At the end, for me, the one that I remember, he talked about how he's like, yeah, I was able to beat this game and it took me less than an hour. I was like, oh, baloney.
Lies.
If you go to YouTube and check out some speedruns, there are some crazy runs of this game.
And let me guess, is it all Diddy Kong?
Mostly.
It's gotta be.
But there's also a lot of like glitches and stuff that they exploit.
Oh.
Gotta love those.
Yeah, so if there are no final thoughts,
thank you for encouraging me to revisit this game.
Yeah, well, thank you for being on it.
That was definitely worth going through again. It was a lot of fun.
It was definitely a lot of fun. And go for it.
I could have asked this after the podcast, but Sean, I heard your SO mention doing playing a 2-player. I've never played this game 2-player. So either of you two are down to play 2-player sometime, hit me up.
Definitely. I think it was specifically as a kid, even though it was like my friend's system, I didn't let them have second player. I wanted both. Because I always get frustrated if someone like does a different jump. I'm like, you messed the jump, even though I probably did the same thing. But I was like, no, both lives are mine.
Wait, so what does playing 2-player add to the game? Like, how does that change it?
No clue. Never played it.
So I tried it and it didn't last long because I got greedy. Not nice. I don't share. But like you pretty much play. You get to pick, or you either got to pick or it randomly gave it to you. But you got to play as one of the characters, and then if that character dies, instead of you taking over the second player gets to be the other half.
Right.
So and then they got to play through and have to save you, and then I think you could still swap out though. So if you're like, oh, I don't think I can handle this, do your little like clap and then switch out, and that second player take over. Yep.
Right. I do remember that now. Yeah.
I just never really handed it over.
Cool. All right. Well, those are all my final thoughts.
Good thoughts.
All right. So if you're interested in the podcast, we plan on doing Kirby's Adventure for the NES. You can follow me on Twitter at ReviewByte. That's BYTE. And think that's it. So thank you very much for listening. And thank you both for being on this podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. It was super fun.
All right. And that's a wrap. Bye.